So far, so good. Okay. Yes, and yes. This is Gidon Ariel from Root Source, and I'm here with my friend Pastor Alan Latta of Granbury, Texas. Good old Granbury. How are you, sir?
Shalom, Gidon. I'm doing very well.
See if you
Um,
can get a little closer to that phone. You look like you're
Okay.
almost in Oklahoma.
Okay. There we go. All right.
Okay, there you are, centered. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. How are you? It's been such a long time. This once a month thing, which really it's harder to do more than once a month. But if you miss 1 month and you miss a whole month and then you miss that again. Anyway, so not very nice to see you. How's it going?
It's going well. Going well. How are you?
We're doing okay. Never a dull moment. We're in that part of the country, part of the world.
Yes. Wow. Well, um, if movies were made of our lives, yours would sell the most tickets.
Between the two of us, maybe. My
Yeah.
life is
Your book would sell the most copies.
yeah, if you're in little league, then the big league, but then you got the people in the big leagues that are the tiniest player. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not much of a baseball follower, but if I remember correctly, there was like the number one guy and the number 20 guy and probably the last guy.
Yeah. The first string, the second string, the pinch hitter.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what's new with you?
Well, I'd like to talk about the story of Jephthah. I know some things in the Bible are prescriptive and other things are descriptive. What is the Orthodox perspective on the story of Jephthah from the book of Judges?
Before you get to that, let's go back
Okay.
to what you said. Restrictive and prescriptive. What was that?
Descriptive, it's a matter of history. This is what happened. And then prescriptive is this story can be used for instructions. So, what from the story is not instructive, but what is instructive?
I'm not surprised that I'm not familiar. I mean, I'm a tiny bit familiar, but I'm not really familiar with that concept of descriptive and prescriptive.
Yes,
Because as far as the Jewish perspective is, then everything is prescriptive. Per- In other
yes,
words, there's nothing in the Bible. Now, some things might be bigger, like Shema Yisrael, yeah? Hear,
yes,
O Lord, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. That's pretty big.
yes,
And God spoke to Moses saying,
yes,
a little small. But
yes.
to say, it's really, this is second tier. This is,
Well,
what is it?
I don't mean to be destructive, but the Torah teaches against child sacrifice, and
Okay.
so did Jephthah do that with his daughter? That's the question. In
Yeah,
that case, that would not be an example to follow, and it wasn't
of
followed.
course.
But it would be a description of history. So I guess I was just trying to segue into the subject. But
There's no, look, you don't, look, child sacrifice is a big no-no.
yes, yes,
But there are other big no-nos,
yes. Did he do
uh,
that? Yes,
and doesn't shy away from telling it like it is, and what individual Israelites did, and what the whole nation of Israel did. I like to say that the Old Testament is the story of the Jewish people and how they royally screwed up. So if you have the majority of the stories of the history of
yes,
the somewhat achronologically. In other words, it's a little bit not exactly correct term to use to call Jews because the Jewish people only
right.
became Jewish people pretty
Yes,
much towards the end of the Bible with the Book of Esther. But
yes,
close enough. That's what we call it, Israelites. Um, so basically from the Solomon all the way to the end of the Bible, the entire first temple period, most of the kings were worshiping idols,
Yeah.
and most of the Jewish people were following the king's example. So, which is why ultimately, one of the reasons why ultimately the Jewish people went into exile. Now, as far as Jephthah, that's how you pronounce it. Uh, uh,
Correct my pronunciation.
in Hebrew, it's pronounced Yiftach.
Yitzchak.
Yeah, forget it. um, if I, now I definitely learned that passage in the Bible from my favorite Bible teacher when I was in yeshiva about 40 years ago. So you'll excuse me if I don't remember it as if I learned it
Okay.
yesterday. If I remember correctly, the the sta- the standard Jewish understanding of that story, probably based on a careful reading of that story, is that Jephthah never actually sacrificed his daughter.
Okay.
In other words, he definitely the sages definitely were critical of his quick mouthedness. In other words, he shouldn't have talked the way that he talked. To say the what was it, the first thing, the next thing that comes out of my house, I will
Yeah.
sacrifice to God or something like that, and then his daughter comes out. But he didn't actually do child sacrifice
Okay.
there. If we're talking about child sacrifice and sages, now again, when I say sages, it's not like every single thing that the sages said, it's by consensus. That all the sages agree that this is what the sages said. That's not what it means. It means that all the sages said it. And it made it into the tradition. But it's not necessarily what everybody thinks. It's not necessarily the accepted majority opinion, if you will, of what we think. So, but that doesn't mean that we don't quote it. So, uh, the most famous story, I think, you can disagree, that has to do with Jews and child sacrifice is none other than Abraham and Isaac.
Yes.
Tremendously famous story. I would certainly one of the top five, arguably the number one story of the Bible as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Um, Now, of course, a, a relatively reading of the text, you don't have to go too deep, too careful to read the text to say, no, Abraham never actually sacrificed
Right.
Isaac.
Right.
However, however, again, the sages, or some sages, or some sage at least, said no, he actually was sacrificed. Why do they say that? Because in the story itself, he doesn't talk anymore. Now, he continues to talk. I don't know if that position means that he was reincarnated or he came back to life or I don't know what. But the concept that Isaac was actually sacrificed, so much so that he was even offered up, the word that I'm thinking of is burnt, because he ended up having ashes. In other words, the concept of the ashes of Isaac. You've never heard of that,
I thought
right?
that would be the ram caught in the thicket.
But the Froshel Yitzchak, the ashes of Isaac, exists in Jewish concept in the Jewish library. Let me take a
Amazing.
amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Now, I'm not again. It's not. It is not the mainstream, if that's the right way. The mainstream opinion by far. But if you're asking prescriptive, descriptive, it's there to that concept is there to teach us something.
Yes. Okay.
Watch this. Let me get this into let me get this into English for you. 1 second. Little by little. Here we are, and I said English. I am logged in, aren't I? Oh, let me log in again. I thought I was logged in. Yeah, there I am. Oh, I think I'm there. Yeah, okay. So let me do this in Hebrew. This is the search. I just typed in Isaac's ashes in Hebrew. Let's see what comes up. This you can read in English, my friend, can't you? 150 results,
Okay.
which means, and here we have them in the text. Here's 150. The Talmud, the Midrash, Halacha, Kabbalah, liturgy, Jewish Torah, Hasidut, Musar, reference, Tanakh, Mishnah, Talmud. 150 references to this concept, dating back as early, it seems, to the Talmud, which is about 1,500 years old. I think that's the oldest concept over. Now, again, I'm not going to start reviewing all 150 of these, but they are there. 1 second. Let's see if 1 second. 1 second. Let's see if okay. In Jewish and biblical, thank you very much, Mr. AI. In Jewish and biblical traditions, the ashes of Isaac refer to a theological and mystical interpretation of the binding of Isaac. Now, again, when we think of that passage, of that story in the Bible, what do you call it? The sacrifice of Isaac?
Yes.
In Hebrew, we call it the binding of Isaac.
Okay.
While the biblical text recounts that Isaac survived, several ancient commentaries and midrashim explore the profound concept of his near sacrifice or even symbolic death. And here it is, probably. I'll send this to you. Here it is all in English. In Hebrew and in English, let me see if I can. Look at this. Friend of mine. Not a friend of mine, but from my neighborhood in Boca Raton, Florida. Give me just the translation. 1, 2. Wow. A lot going on over here, huh?
Yes.
I'm going to keep this open and send it to you, and we will learn about it. Anyway, so that is, pardon me for hijacking the concept of Jeff Dach. So Let's keep this open and look up Jephthah, okay? Let me, 1 second. Let's see what he can do for me over here. I'm not sure what I'm looking up over here. Let's see what he has to say. What happened to Yiftach's daughter, a fellow by the name of Emmett E? Here's the book of Judges, followed by Midrash, nice and long, ooh, very long, followed by a commentary of Rashi on the book of Judges. Here's something in Hebrew that doesn't seem to exist in English yet. Right? 1 second. Yeah, it's just giving you the translation, which means that if it only appears in Hebrew, it hasn't been translated into English yet. But this looks like a pretty comprehensive collection of commentaries and sources of that story.
Okay.
So without promising, I will take a look at that and maybe send it over to you. Maybe I'll try to translate some of this stuff. But what was your question?
Well, no, this is interesting. I'm so glad you, as you said, hijacked the story. This is an interesting parallel with Christianity, with this concept of Abraham's obedience. His son was, I mean, he was committed to follow through, but yet he said, "We'll come back to you guys." He left them there. It was a 3 day journey. So for 3 days, the son was as good as dead. I mean, with Abraham's commitment. But then he told the servants, "We're coming back. We're going yonder to worship." The son carried the wood on his back, and then the substitute was provided.
Uh-huh.
And this is where the name for God that has the word Jireh or Yireh in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that spot, um, I think Yireh could also be seen. So from that spot, it can be seen
Yes.
where the temple would be, right?
Right. Yeah.
Jerusalem. Yeah, it's a very interesting parallel with the Christian faith. But yeah, wow.
Not surprising. Look, the it seems to me, pardon me, the national sport of Christians is to try to find Jesus in the Old Testament.
Yes, yes,
So when you have what at least Gidon thinks is the most important story, then you're not going to say, it's not important.
yeah.
Since it
Oh,
really is
yeah,
very mitbakesh. It how do you say that in English?
yeah,
It seems to beg the issue to say a father and a son and sacrificing the
yes,
son and the whole
yeah,
it's all there.
yes, for sure. And
Now,
it's 3 centuries before a New Testament is fully compiled. And so, what were they preaching from uh, in the first century?
of
They go to
course.
the synagogues first, preach there,
Mm,
and then they move elsewhere and establish churches. So
right.
they're using the first. I no longer say Old Testament. I say First Testament.
And this is
They
the first.
use the
I
First
always love it.
Testaments.
I always love it when I hear new ideas. So you're saying it's
First
called the First
Testament.
Testament. Not
So
you're saying it's not only the First Testament because chronologically it came before the second,
yes,
but it
yes.
was the testament
It's
for
the
Christians for
foundation.
hundreds of years.
It's the foundation, and we see preaching like this in the. Yesterday was Shavuot, or we celebrated Pentecost Sunday, and that first sermon preached by Peter, he refers to David's tomb. Now, here's my question for the day: is Shavuot the anniversary of David's death?
The answer is again, according to something in Sepharia,
Yes.
absolutely yes.
Okay. So in Peter's preaching, he refers to the two tombs. The one where Christ was buried, and then the one where David was buried. Anyway, it's interesting.
Fascinating.
So we see some parallel there with the First Testament. So, man, I
Very
really
fascinating.
appreciate this. This is so beautiful. From Jephthah, who knew we would go from here to there? Yeah.
Um, when you asked me about David's death
Yes.
day, the theme of the death of David, few midrashim come to mind.
Okay.
Midrash, if what can I call it? I don't even remember. Exegesis or something like that. So nobody. There are some people who will say that some of the midrashim were handed down on Sinai at the same time as the written Torah.
Okay.
But it's obvious that most, I mean, I don't know. People who don't think too much might dig their heels into that. But it's obvious that so many of them came much later. First of all, obviously, the story in the Bible about David came hundreds of years after Sinai. So the whole Tanakh didn't come down in Sinai, and so
Right.
the midrashim about David came later also. But so how old is the tradition of David's the anniversary of David's death or the date of David's death being on Shavuot? Let's ask AI 1 second. No, what day? Yes. So, oh, that's in Wikipedia even. Um, and here is study.com and Tel Shemesh, something else. Here, maybe here on Chabad, that's a Jewish tradition. Let me get you sharing over here. 1 second. So here is simple Wikipedia. Thank you very much. One second. This is not helping, but here it probably would. What would think? Only 2 articles here. Nope, I don't have any articles that talk about that. Let's try maybe to find something else here. 1 second. Try an Hebrew, maybe it'll be better. Only 7. Nah. Nope. I gave myself 4 tries. It didn't work. So I'll keep that open and maybe try to find something as far as that tradition of David dying in Shavuot.
Yes.
There's a lot of well-known traditions about David's death, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
Another one that I'll just tell you off the top of my head, that you know how old David was when he died?
No.
He was 70 years old.
Okay.
I'm guessing that he died on his birthday. That's a repeated theme in the Bible. And
Okay.
um, and you know how old Adam was when he died?
700,
930.
930. Okay.
So What happened was, again, I'm telling you off by the top of my heart. We're not reading this, but I'm sure I could find it. Adam, Adam was supposed to live for 1,000 years,
Okay.
but he prophetically heard of David, who was supposed to be stillborn.
Ah.
And Adam, the first man, said, God, I'll donate 70 years of my life so that David can be born.
Oh my goodness.
Again, it's a it is a fantastic story. Obviously not historical. No,
Yes.
nobody can say, "Oh, look what I just found." The
Right.
newspaper in the year
Right.
930. Hear all about it. Adam decides to give it. It's a concept. It's a thematic, conceptual idea. What are you going to learn from that? But that is an interesting idea, and especially again, you haven't heard of it. I doubt. I don't know how many Christians have heard of that. But anything that has to do with David is a hop, skip, and a jump to having to do with Jesus. So,
Oh,
that's something worth looking into. So I'll try to find that also. Hold on a second. Let me see if I have it here. I'm afraid I don't. Yeah, maybe it's over there. I can't see it. There are various books. There are various books that bring together many, if not all, of the midrashim, all of the stories about the people of the Bible. So I will try to find that about David and Jephthah,
okay.
and I'll maybe send you something about it.
So Shavuot is not the celebration of David, it's a celebration of the Torah given on Sinai, correct? And early harvest, the beginning of harvest.
Sort of, sort of,
Oh,
sort of, and sort of.
okay. All right. Make me more
The
accurate here, please.
the answer is that Shavuot is celebrated as the 7 weeks following Passover,
Right.
49 days. And the Bible mostly talks about that. And the Bible does not talk at all about the Torah given on that day at all.
Oh, okay. You're just celebrating that, the fact, rather than the day specific.
We celebrate it because if you do a little calculation, a little bit of one plus one, you'll make it to three. That's what the rabbis did. However, it's actually a disagreement whether the Torah was given on the fifth day of the month of Sivan, the sixth day, or the seventh day.
Wasn't it given in a series of days?
It was given, there were a series of days, but the actual, and God spoke to Moses saying, I am the Lord your God, no gods instead of me, the Ten Commandments, the event of Sinai, one day. Didn't take.
Okay.
And actually, a lecture that I heard on Shavuot, I don't even remember who gave it. I heard so many. He said, no, that's it. It actually did not happen on Shavuot. It happened the day after, I think, or the day before. And I said, I got to look this up. Sounds too crazy for me.
Yes.
But it is something that has become very traditional because otherwise there's nothing to do on Shavuot. On Passover, you eat matzah. On Tabernacles, you sit in the sukkah. On Shavuot, nothing.
Okay.
There are three. There are three pilgrimage holidays. You do a lot more on both of those holidays, but on Shavuot, nothing. So the rabbi said, "Here's our chance. The most important thing in Judaism, the way that we have decided to form it, we're talking about rabbinic Judaism. There's the hint. Rabbinic. Rabbinic means teachers. Teachers means teaching something. Something that they're teaching is the Torah. So, okay, Shavuot is the holiday of the giving of the Torah. It's close enough in the Bible, and we want all of Judaism to be focused on learning the Torah.
Okay.
You got to do commandments also, 613 commandments. You got to do all sorts of laws that developed all throughout the centuries. But the most important thing that Jews do, according to the Judaism that I'm familiar with, which I think is very standard Judaism, the very mainstream, is learning Torah.
Okay.
So that's why it got top billing on one of the holidays, one of the pilgrimage holidays.
Okay. Well, this is not a parallel, so please don't take this as disrespect. So America celebrates its independence on July 4th,
Okay?
but the Declaration was actually finished on July 2nd, but July 4th was the last of the signatures. So they chose that day. Anyway, yeah.
That's why they chose. Thank you very much for that historical tidbit.
Yes.
Uh, it doesn't really sound very prescriptive.
No, but it's descriptive. So there you go.
I and I'll come back at you
Okay.
regarding the Israeli Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
It also took a few days to get all of the signatures on it because it happened on in Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem was under blockade at the time. So they had to fly. I might be getting this wrong, but it's my story and I'm sticking to it at least for now. They had to fly the declaration to Jerusalem to get through the stockade. Not everybody could fly. They use a little Piper plane or
Right.
something. In order for the half dozen or something like that, people who weren't in Tel Aviv to sign it.
Okay.
That's one story. The other story is that they were aiming at the 15th day of May, the sixth day of the month of ER, because that was, or midnight that day, between the 14th and the 15th, because that was the day that the mandate was set to dissolve. However, it was Friday night, and Ben Gurion realized that he would not be able to pull anything off on a Saturday. The religious Jews no way. So he preempted it till Friday afternoon, early Friday afternoon.
Okay.
That's enough for that now.
Yes. Interesting.
Anyway, so
Well,
that is it. We've been on for a long time.
thank you so much for your
Did
time.
I ever tell you about the new project that Root Source is doing called We Must Not Forget?
No, sir. Tell me.
So the story is like this. Can't find what I'm looking for. I'll do it without it. I met a Holocaust survivor. Uh, Somebody introduced me, and I came to his home. About 95 years old, living in Mea Shearim in Jerusalem. And I started asking him questions about his life in Holocaust. He said, "Listen, I could tell you my whole life story, or I could just give you a copy of it." He pulls out from his drawer this. Let me see if it's here. One second. I'm afraid it isn't, but wait a second. It better be here, otherwise, what am I? Yeah, here it is. So this is what he pulls out from his drawer. See that? So I said, this is very nice, but there's three problems. Number one, only people who come to visit you in your living room are going to get a copy of this.
Okay.
And number two, it's not really a book. It's, a photocopy, typewritten. And number three, what about the people who don't know Hebrew? So I
Okay.
said, let me translate and format and publish this book in English. So he said, okay. And this is what happened.
Oh man, I want one.
Of course. So I print. I also edit pictures, and I was very. I presented it to him, and I said, you know what? There have been millions of Holocaust survivors, most of whom are already passed away. There's only about 200,000 Holocaust survivors who are still around, and they're in their 80s and 90s and hundreds.
Yes.
And soon they're all going to be dead. And so it's very nice that I did one book, but that's not enough. So I decided that Root Source is going to take upon itself the ambitious goal of finding and translating and publishing the stories of 100 Holocaust survivors that have never been
Gidon.
published before in English.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm looking for stories like that. I've already got about 20 in the pipeline,
Okay.
but I'm mostly looking for churches, synagogues, individuals that will adopt a Holocaust survivor and their story.
Wow. How much do you guess that one would cost?
I'm not guessing.
Okay.
Each story costs $7,000 for
Okay.
the formatting and the pictures. Now I figured, you get a church, you get 70 people in the church, each one giving $100, and then you're done.
Yes.
That kind of thing. So if you pray about that and see if your church would be interested in it's only going to be 100. It's going to be exclusive.
Yes.
So I'd love to be able to what's the name of your church? Granbury Life. What is the name?
Generations Church of Granbury.
Generations, which is a great name for to adopt a Holocaust survivor's story.
There you go.
You think about that. See if that can work for you.
Well, thank you. So, what is the name of the project again?
We must not forget.
We must not forget, and it's
It's we must not forget.org.
all right. It's publishing books. So, is this particular book now available on Amazon?
Yes.
Okay, and you're the
It's also
you're,
available on we must not forget.org.
we must not forget. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for today, Gidon. This is wonderful.
And you think about that. Get back to me.
All right.
תודה רבה.
Shalom. Thank you.
Shalom, shalom.